This podcast features adults using adult language. Also, we are doing this primarily for fun. We have no intention to make any money off of it, and we're not sponsored by Wizards of the Coast or Nintendo. This is just us having fun in the world of Zelda with D&D. But enough of this legal disclaimer nonsense. It's now time to indulge in adventure. It is now time to read upon the Hyrule Chronicles. Wait, do you read something that you listen to? I don't know. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles, a D&D game where we play in the Legend of Zelda universe because it's fun. Who'da thunk it? I am ArticulateT, your humbling bumbling GM. With me I have, playing Sho Daius, SteveTheSeregios.
Hello.
Playing Renji, I have TheNetherlad.
Hello.
Playing Hikan I have Alvarance.
Hello.
And we have two new folks here to round ourselves out to a nice party of 5.
Outsiders.
Outside new people.
Two of us.
First off, we have Robo-Pirate.
I also go by Cafferask.
That is true. And we also have Keastreth.
Hello.
Hooray. We'll introduce their characters in a sec, but for the moment, who would like to do the recap from last time?
Not it.
That's a wise strategy, given you weren't here last time.
Oh no, I guess I'll have to do it. Yeah, it's me.
I mean, there are two other viable options, but if you want to, sure.
Ha! Viable.
What?
That's viable as Melee Pichu.
I will tell you what happened last time, and I will do it with panache.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Levels,
Go ahead.
Anyway, last time on the Hyrule Chronicles, we managed to save a scholar, one of the people that had been on, well, not so much an adventure as in more of a scientific pursuit of astronomy. In doing so, we also killed a Gerudo witch. Sadly, however, we didn't manage to figure out what was the source of her power. Taking the scholar back to Riggensted, we joined up with two of his compatriots and brought them to Hyrule Castle Town, where we were rewarded by Minister Simeon, who also invited us to dinner the next evening. And Hikan and Tyrina were very intrigued by the city. Tyrina was also intrigued by the rain because she's from the Gerudo Desert and as such does not really see precipitation as much. And I think that is about it, dude. Are there any other things that you wish to let the world know? Sho, Hikan?
That pretty much sums it up.
Very concise.
Pretty good, I suppose.
Talk about viable now!
Oh dear.
Alright, okay, so it's like Smash Bros 4 Meta Knight as opposed to Brawl Meta Knight.
Oh dear. Anyway. So,
Really beefing up the Smash community here tonight.
Yeah.
as it turns out, everything that TheNetherlad has just said is entirely correct. So, You now find yourself currently within Hyrule Castle Town, having just spoken to Lord Simeon, as said, who wanted to invite you for dinner that evening in order to properly thank you and discuss something with you perhaps later on. And as the rain continues to fall outside, we will shift away from that for the moment and we'll find ourselves at the Royal Hylian Inn. This is a decent establishment, your fairly kind of standard inn fare, which is found within the commercial district. I'll pop the star on the map there so you know exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Right.
Okay. Within a corner of the establishment, poring over details of items and food and drinks that can be purchased on this wooden plaque, which the owner has called the menu and is very proud of it. We have two individuals, one of which is an older, taller Sheikah, and the other one is a younger Hylian, both of which in robes and stuff. Would you like to describe your characters and what it is that you are currently doing in the Royal Hylian Inn?
Certainly. Shall I go first then? My character is the older Sheikah. He is sat wearing dark green trousers with a similar dark green cloak over his back. A quiver of arrows visible with a longbow attached to his back as well. He is currently reading through the menu and quite carefully considering the options.
I believe it's pronounced menu.
Menu, I see.
Seated opposite him is Max, a rather short Hylian at 5'6". Most of his body is covered in somewhat ragged robes in greens and browns, and he has a staff sitting, leaning against the chair. He's not looking at the menu, mostly because Zidane has it right now, but if asked where he wants, he'll just sort of shrug and say whatever.
Yeah, and coincidentally enough, just as this sort of thing happens, a young man comes over, approximately about Max's age, though it's much scrawnier, with tousled red hair, a bright smile. He appears to be a round-eared Hylian, and he has with him what appears to be like a pad of paper and a pencil. And he comes over and says, gentlemen, it's so nice to actually have some new customers in now and then. Can I take your orders if you have anything?
Yes. May I please have chicken with a lovely smattering of vegetables if you have them?
Chicken and vegetables. And you, what would you like to have?
Same, I guess.
Okay. Two of those. That'll run you about 2 silver if that's okay.
That should be fine.
Okay. So he writes it down. He tears the paper off the pad, and says, if you're considering rooms, by all means, you can stay with us. It's about 5 silver a night per room, of course, and we serve breakfast and regular meals throughout the day. But I'll be back with your order in just a sec. And he disappears.
When he walks off, Max looks at Zaz like, so you can stay in these places?
Oh, indeed. They offer bedding, bathing facilities, all that you can need.
Mm.
I imagine the food will make a lovely diversion from good berries.
Well, at least you never run out of those.
So what was it that you were planning on doing in Hyrule Castle Town for the day, as you kind of wait for your food to come to you?
Our overall plan was A, to search whatever we can regarding Max's past, and B, to obtain some useful magical items.
Okay. Excellent. So Roll, just so we have a cursory idea as to where you could possibly go, roll investigation checks for each thing. So we'll do the first one being any clues on Max's past, and the second one being anywhere that you might be able to find a magic selling shop.
I got 13 for the Max's Past.
Okay.
I've got 19
Okay.
with my +0.
Nice.
It's difficult asking around. A lot of people, it's difficult to be social with people considering the weather. It seems that the city folk aren't too pleased with talking to each other when it's raining like this. But those you do manage to speak to don't have much in the way of information. In regards to in regards to what you might believe, in regards to Max's past, you probably want to be speaking to one of the lords, and I'll just get my thing of lords here to see what's there. One of the lords you've been directed to, or any kind of retinue in regards to that, will probably be Lord Dr. Crane, who's a lord of engineering. He's kind of he is the man of science in regards to Hyrule Castle Town. They would have said Lord Draymore, but Lord Draymore's been missing for a couple months now, and no one's really heard from him.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I roll investigation to find a magic shop,
Yeah.
I shall cast guidance on myself.
Okay, cast guys. So yeah, you can add a D4 to your roll.
I gain a 13 overall.
I get 10, and I was interested in this clearly.
You hear a couple of rumors saying that there's potentially a magic shop in the Nobles District. Don't get a name though. There's also some smattering of rumors that there is a rather suspect shop within the slums. That's location seems to change every time. So those are your two options, but you don't get very many clear directions. And as you're kind of discussing things, the waiter comes back over with these 2 plates of chicken and vegetables as requested, and he also comes back with a letter under his arm. And he puts the food on the table and says, there's your meals, as promised. And I was also given this by the bartender. Said that it was meant to be going towards 2 individuals, one of which was a Sheikah and the other which was a Hylian, both of which wearing robes and looking fairly scary. Don't be offended, but you're the only 2 that fit that description in this location. So I'm just going to...
I must admit, I am slightly offended to find that I am scary.
Thank you for calling me scary.
And he just kind of places the letter gently on the table, and then takes a step back, takes a bow, and says, enjoy your meals. If you need anything, please come to the bar and ask, and walks off.
Max proceeds to demonstrate his complete lack of table manners.
Ziden thanks the waiter before he goes, and then we'll look at the letter first.
Okay. So you're looking at the letter. It appears to be a very basic missive saying, in relation to your assistance today, you have been invited to the estate of Lord Simeon, Lord of Education in Hyrule Castle Town. Directions have been enclosed with the letter. Please attend for a dinner tonight at this time. And that's pretty much it.
He will put the letter down beside Max and eat his own food slightly more slowly, sensibly. Not that he has significant manners, more just that he's more calm about it.
Okay.
Max gives the letter a quick glance and doesn't really seem interested in it.
Okay.
Like,
Excellent.
sort of pushes it back over to Zidane at some point. leaves chicken grease on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll cut away from them for the moment. Let's see, who wants to go first? Hikan and Tyrina, or Sho and Renji? Or are you all heading in the same direction?
I'm going to Hyrule Castle.
I am also going to Hyrule Castle. I believe that Hikan and Tyrina were going out on the town, as it were.
Downtown!
Okay. So out of those two groups, who wants to go first?
I do not have any particular preference, to be honest, but I'll let Hikan go first, if he wants to.
I'm fine with that. I mean, okay, so we were going to go to... Sho recommended us to go see a Gerudo jeweler in the commercial district.
Yes. Yeah. That indeed he did. So the two of you kind of... I want you to make while you might have been given directions, I want you to make an investigation check you can in order to find your way through the city that you have never been in before and is approximately, according to my map, well, that's feet, that's not miles, never mind. Like I say, it's about like a couple miles wide. It's a big city.
Pretty bloody big.
I hope Wanderer helps, but let's see how this goes. 15?
15's good. It's a bit, you fumble a bit, and there is one or 2 points where you lose track of each other, but eventually you find yourself in the bustling commercial district of southern Hyrule Castle Town. Despite the rain, it's quite clearly the busiest district. People are running about doing their usual things, and eventually you find what appears to be a jeweler's called Diamond in the Rough. Which is in the general area of the main thoroughfare of the Castletown Market.
Hikan walks in and holds the door for Tyrina, being a gentleman, and starts looking at all the jewels and tries his best to refrain from touching them, thinking the stuff from Lord Simeon's is still in effect.
Yep, so you head in. There's very much a kind of like it's very flashy in here. There's lots of stuff on display all behind these neat little glass cases and on these mannequins and stuff. Different jewelry and very valuable metals and diamonds and other rocks just kind of placed in this very appealing manner. And behind a counter at the other end of the room appears to be a very tall, very well-built Gerudo woman who's rather disinterestedly reading a book, not even looking up as you guys enter. And Tyrina kind of takes a glance around and says, "Well, this is quite impressive."
Hikan notices the disinterest and walks over and says, Saf Saba and the rest, and a gentleman by the name of Sho sent us to say hi.
I do not know any Sho, darling.
Hey!
Oh,
But if you're
damn.
interested in jewelry, I can certainly provide you with something. And she finally looks up from her book and gives you a glance up and down, as if to assess your current state of style and dress.
Oh god, no.
Hikan has no style.
He has no grace.
This monk will punch you in the face!
I look at Tyrina like, why is this woman looking at me like this? I am confused.
Tyrina has like a smirk on her face. And the Gerudo woman just kind of like rests her head in her hand as she kind of leans on the desk, continues to kind of assess you, and goes, "You're not from around here, are you?"
No, I no.
So a friend of yours pointed you in the direction of a jeweler's as the first place to go to when you first arrive in town. How very interesting. How are you friends with this man again?
We've kind of killed a witch together as we wanted to rescue cows. No, we needed to rescue the boy who chased the cows. And then there were these scholar people that showed up, and they got attacked by the witch, and then we had to go kill the witch. And I look at Tyrina and nod as if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah. The woman looks over to Tyrina, who just kind of smiles and gives a thumbs up, and it's like, huh. Okay. Well, perhaps I would be able to help you, dear one. What exactly were you looking for in this city? Was it just to kill time, find food, find interesting things? I can certainly recommend you with some things that might give your apparel a bit more of a pop, maybe.
Hikan's ears perk up at interesting things. What kind of interesting things?
Well, I do know that there is a rather interesting leatherworker south of here. There's a Goron blacksmith somewhere nearby. If you're looking for a new mode of dress, there is a tailor's in this district. There are several bars. There is at least one magic shop in the northern part of town. Anything that appeals to you?
His ears perked up at bars, but then he shakes his head. It's like, no, I need to focus. No. You said a magic shop, and my friend said that there was a library.
Oh, a library. Well, they are not mutually exclusive. I have been told that one of the lord's houses has a library of which it can be used, or is next to a library that can be used, that they have very strict times in regards to wanting to return things. As for the magic shop, there is a place in the northern part of town, in the noble district, called Uriel's Magnificent Machinations. It is a very well-to-do magical shop, though I do not care for the owner too much energy for that man.
So why did Sho send us here?
Tyrina just shrugs and says, maybe it was a case of meeting another Gerudo, but no. It's like Tyrina's kind of just as mystified as you are. And the woman just kind of goes, and you, darling, over there, you don't need to, you need a bit more, you need a bit more to your armor, darling, but, well, I suppose it would be best to do that another time, yes? Now, unless either of you are hoping to buy anything from here, I'd like to get back to my reading.
Thank you for your help.
She kind of dismissively waves as she looks back to her book.
I walk back to the entrance and look at Tyrina. It must be an interesting book.
Tyrina just kind of looks back and shrugs and heads out, saying, I don't know. One would think that, if you own a shop, you should be able to actually, pay attention to it. And you find yourselves back in the courtyard, as it were. And Tyrina just turns to you and says, so, what now?
Is there anybody selling, like, are there any food stalls or anything?
Oh yeah, there are food stalls around everywhere. Now that you're in kind of the main thoroughfare, there's carts and general kind of small merchants trying to sell their wares as if it's some kind of like an open air market.
So there's fruits available.
Yes. There's a rather short, rotund man selling fruits of various different kinds, and he's just doing the standing cry, get your apples here, apples, oranges, pears, bananas, get your... and just shouting in no particular direction, trying to raise his voice above other people other merchants who are also trying to shout and sell their things to the few passers-by that are walking about within the rain.
Does he have a sign with prices on it?
He does. Most of his stuff can go for like 1 or 2 copper. It's a very cheap fruit stall.
I was hoping he didn't, but I will go ahead and buy an apple and snack on an apple as we head north to the magic shop.
Okay. So you head north. We'll cut back with Sho and Renji. You head immediately towards the gate guards, and they see you, and they immediately stand to attention. And goes, "Your business here?"
You have orders.
Family.
Can I see your identification, just to be sure?
Of course. I pull out of the pouch some papers, all sealed, all signed, that basically are proof of my pedigree, and I hand them in such a way that they also see my Sheikah signet ring.
I'm just going to hand over the Brit.
Yeah. They look over the thing and think, "Oh, our apologies. It's just protocol, you know."
I understand, of course. You're
Open
doing
the
your job very
gate!
well.
And there's a click, tick, 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 as the massive portcullis begins to rise enough for you to walk under it.
What's your name? You don't have name badges here.
Yeah, one of the guy looks at the other and just looks back and goes, "Samson."
Oh, Samson, you're doing your job very well, and I will recommend. I will put in a recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Of course, and I had him.
Yeah. Okay. So you head on in, past the gates, past more guards kind of standing to attention, and past a couple of barricades and things. You see the open fields that precede Hyrule Castle, and standing atop a hill near overhead, just about a quarter of a mile away, along a very well-maintained gravel path, is the immensity that is Hyrule Castle. Though probably looks much better in better weather.
Most likely. I just let out a sigh, renewing my prestidigitation to dry most of my clothing, and I look at Sho, saying, "I have some business with my father, as well as perhaps the armory. I'm not sure what you are planning on doing."
Reporting what I found and what. Also, I probably have to see young Master Impa.
Very well. Do you wish to, head out together, or just?
I should probably report to Master Nihilus that I've returned as well. So I'll see
in
you
that
off
case,
there.
we can do that first, I suppose.
Okay. So you head through the. You head into the castle itself. The drawbridge is lowered. You get into the castle walls. All the guards stand. Despite the weather, the guards standing to perfect attention. You know that these are the best, the best, the best, sir, when it comes to the guards here. But nothing could truly hold a candle to your work companions that you've encountered before.
Your colleagues.
Your colleagues. As you head in, you can see the different areas of the courtyard that are available. In one area, you see Alea, who's the she's the bodyguard to Prince Marius, and she's wearing fairly heavy armor, as it were. She's currently running some of the guards through some drills. While Marius sits under some shelter nearby and tends to his pet falcon, the insufferable prick. But yeah, and heading through, you know about this time. Judging by the time that Alea is currently doing her own drills with the guards, you know what time it is and where Nihilus must be. And as you head through. through the various corridors, you manage to find the entrance to the castle library. And it's here that you see Nihilus and Zelish. Nihilus, as you know, being your father, Renji, he's a tall, athletic, lithe man who is in a kind of very form-fitting attire of leather armor, and he is just covered in knives. Like there's straps of knives on his chest, on his shoulders, on his calf, thigh, belt.
Nice dad.
He makes very good use of them. And he's talking to Zelish, who is slightly taller than Nihilus, but is much older. He's got long white hair, like a Fu Manchu style mustache, and he's wearing his long dark robes, all adorned with the symbols of the Sheikah. On his belt, on one area, he has a pair of bongos, which you've never seen him use. And he's currently just talking to Nihilus. So at one point, and as you approach, you overhear kind of conversation of Zelish saying, "Nihilus, I believe it is paramount that we see to the king's health in regards to the upcoming festival, and I believe that may require us to miss something in particular." And Nihilus just says, "Well, yes, but are you sure that is wise? That would downplay the morale of the Oh, Renji, Sho, it's good to see you."
Sho immediately bows, doffs his hat and everything.
Renji also bows specifically because of Zelish being there. Are Zelish and Nihilus the only two people here?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I speak to them in the Shikan language, and as I bow, I say, "Greetings, Zelish Dairio, Nihilus Torio." I'm just wishing to check in. I had some questions, and I am speaking to Zelish, and I say I have some questions for my father. If I'm not disturbing anything.
No, I believe that's perfectly all right. As much as we have work, we have family too. Nihilus, I will speak to you later, perhaps when we both have more time in the day. It was nice seeing you both. I will be tending to my duties to the king, of course. Have a good day. And he turns around and slowly slinks off, turning a corner out of sight. And Nihilus looks over and says, "I have never been able to get any kind of smile out of that man for as long as I've known him, but at least he's not too offended about this whole process. So, what might you ask of me?"
Well, Father, since I've become of age, I'm kind of looking for something to fill my time. I know I don't have a station. I don't have a position in securing in the security of the royal family, as those positions are all taken. So I've started looking for things to do by myself, and I was wondering if you would be able to help me in that endeavor. I've gotten into a few scrapes. Nothing serious. Nothing
Okay.
serious, Father. Nothing. Nothing too threatening. And I've been with Sho for most of this time. He's been quite a help and a confidant. I'm just wondering if there's something you can help me with, making sure that if I do ever end up in a dangerous situation, I am well prepared.
I'm sure I can possibly help you out with that, and thank you, Sho, for keeping an eye on my son.
And as Nihilus does this, I glance over at Sho with a look like that says like, Don't tell him anything, please.
Sho bows, is dresses informally. It's like, I'm just performing my duty, Master. But, and as we continue our little excursions, I will try to assist the young master as much.
It is good of you to do so. And it would be very good training as well. I know that you've been... Yes. Well, yes. Thankfully, the royal children are not exactly too prone to adventure. Well, Sophitia is, but she never gets far.
I saw Alea doing the drills. Seems everything is in order.
Indeed. So, this thing that you needed me to help you with, anything in particular at all?
Well, I was thinking, since there might be some combat involved, to have a breastplate requisitioned.
Oh, well, you didn't need to really come to me. There is, of course, you know Lissa, and...
I do, yes.
Yes. You can go and speak to her. I'm sure she's perfectly willing to help you out, unless, of course, you need something a bit more magical, at which point I don't think... Zelish would have the skill to, but I don't think he would have the time to, or the inclination, sadly. So you might have to go shopping in town for something like that. Although, come,
yes?
walk with me. And he turns around.
I nod and hurry to follow in the same footfalls.
Before they head off, Sho bows and it's like, I shall take my leave, Master.
Okay. Very well. It was good to see you, and I hope the rest of your day goes very well.
Indeed.
And he turns around and heads into the library, and holds the door open for Renji.
I follow and respectfully incline my head.
And he brings you to the front desk, and there you see a young Hylian woman. She kind of has this wavy blonde hair that's tied up in a ponytail. She wears fairly practical clothes. She's much shorter than you. And she has these round spectacles over her eyes. And you know this to be the recent acquisition of the castle. This is Mara. She is the chief researcher, or new chief researcher, and kind of stand-in librarian for the castle. And Nihilus looks down and says, Mara, you wouldn't happen to have any kind of reading material in regards to magical enchantment items at all? I know that we're running a bit thin on that one. And Mara looks up and says, Oh, I don't think so. I can check, though. I still have... It's, And she turns to look at the library, and examining it, it's a very big room. There's a lot of books here. It'll probably take a while.
I've been there. I've snuck in a couple times.
And he goes, well, maybe I can look for something. Maybe. I'm sorry, Master Nihilus. Don't be sorry. It's a big place. There's lots to read, lots to do. But if you would be so kind as to try and find something at some point, my son would possibly be helped with something along those lines, beyond the physical, as it were. And she goes, oh.
As this happens, do I have any reason why my father would say that? I kind of want to make an insight check because of this.
Sure.
Okay, here goes.
The big old...
That's a 17.
The big old Looney Tunes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite clear from it. You can tell from you've known him a lot as well, being your dad, but it's quite clear that he's kind of being overprotective. So he's aware of the whole kind of you're physically capable of taking care of yourself in a way, but he also wants to make sure that you're as protected as possible. So if you can get you some magic swag, he's gonna try and get you some magic swag.
Okay, so it's not as if he has the feeling like you need to read up on what you're currently doing.
No, he's basically like,
Okay.
if there is a way that we can get you some armor or weapons that are actually magical, to get you some extra protection, he's basically being like if I could wrap you in a magical mattress and then have you waddle around like that, that's what he would do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there goes.
Aww.
So he turns around and says, "There. I suppose after a while we'll be able to get you something like that. But other than that, I suppose you'll probably be wanting to go and speak to Alyssa in regards to anything armament-wise."
Thank you very much, Father. There is something that I've encountered in some of my. Well, I've been to the library a few times more than maybe I should. There was something in my reading that piqued my interest. It was something about the Twilight Realm. Does that mean anything to you?
You can kind of see his face sort of stiffen slightly.
Okay.
And like there's not much of a visible change, but you can tell something about him has darkened a little. He says,
I've read about like some darker parts of our history, but beyond that, there was only references, no actual facts.
there is kind of a reason for that.
I see.
We, as you can probably tell, we do not want to talk about it. We are the Sheikah. We uphold the truth in all fashions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we want to remember the truth. The truth can hurt. It is a difficult thing to deal with. And sometimes I feel that it is probably best if we avoid some truths so that mistakes that have happened once do not happen again.
I see. But then, with that same logic, isn't it proper to know what happened before so that we know not to repeat it?
In many instances, yes. But this is a different factor. Do you know one of the theories as to what has started the Civil War in the first place?
Well, I know several.
One of them is, some believe that they had found the location of a mythical object known as the Triforce, and no one
Yes.
had proof. But that knowledge alone was enough to possibly start this massive conflict that has taken so many lives. Sometimes there are things best forgotten for the safety of everybody.
I see. I understand what you're saying, Father. I do feel this... I do still feel this curiosity, however.
All I ask you in that instance is just be careful. And if you find anything,
Of course.
anything at all that could be dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
bring it to me, and myself and Zelish will discuss this.
I see. I will, of course.
Thank you. And he kind of pats you on the shoulder and says, now go on. I'm sure that Lissa probably is starved for company. That isn't any of her apprentices at this point.
I'll see if I can protect them from the brunt of, well, gruffness. Don't tell her I said that.
Oh, I don't think I will.
Thank you, Father. I'll wish you the very best. And I'm not sure how long I'll be staying in Castle Town, but I'll be sure to let you know when I leave.
Okay. Thank you.
And you.
And so you go off to find Lissa?
Yes.
Okay. So before we do, we'll briefly cut to Sho. Sho, you're currently hunting for Impa?
Yes, I'm trying to find him, who's probably, I assume, with Prince Rufus.
Yep. So you kind of find your way to a gazebo out in the gardens, back through the rain, where you see Impa kind of leaning against one of the pillars, cross-armed, while Rufus reads his book. And Impa looks over to you and gives a nod, and she pushes herself up onto her feet and says, "Sho."
Young Lady Impa.
And
I see your countenance is grim, as always.
she bows slightly and says, "I believe it has to be. What do you have to report?"
Nothing too major. There were some bandit sightings outside of Reganstead, but those were promptly dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
After that, me and young Master Renji ended up getting in a scuffle with a witch of a Gerudo nature. We ended up dealing with the problem and assisting Minister Simeon in the process, but that boy's getting himself in trouble far more than it's worth.
What kind of trouble?
He's just, I suppose, a bit too adventurous before learning his protocol.
Oop.
That was a coin, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, she's going to insight check you. Thankfully doesn't roll very high. And she says, "Well, I'm sure it'd be a good idea to keep an eye on him during your training. I know that might not be the best for you, but
No, I've had adequate time to test myself whilst child-minding.
very well. I would suggest, in some way, shape, or form, just to keep an eye on him, and of course, come back regularly to give you reports when you possibly can."
Of course. How's young Master Rufus?
She turns back, and he's still kind of lost in his book, and says, "Still the same as always. Still more enamored with his books than he is with being social with anybody except myself, and maybe Mara, but otherwise, he is fine. In good health, just a bit lonely, as he always is."
How fares the king?
He's getting old. And that's not just in the physical sense, but also in the emotional sense. We would have thought that he might have cheered up a bit after so many years, but, well, heartbreak hits hard, and he's only grown colder.
Prince Marius will assume the throne next.
Yeah, he will.
Well, that is out of our hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can only do what we're here to do. As decreed by Hylia and the entire creed of the Sheikah race, we are here to protect the royal family and protect Hyrule as a whole. That is our sacred vow.
I'll be
Oh.
heading off for a retreat for a meeting with Lord Simeon later today. I'll try and bring something interesting for young Master Rufus to read.
Of course. Of course. Very well. You are dismissed.
Indeed. He bows and proceeds to leave out the castle, probably heading back to wander through the city a bit before time for dinner, free food. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, back in the city, we find ourselves at the door of Uriel's Magical Machinations, which is right here. It is a very well-to-do building, Victorian styling. It has a little shop sign that seems to be coloured in blacks and golds. And the door is a heavy-set black wooden door with heavy metal rivets and everything on it. And standing in front of it would be Max and Ziden. Ziden, there we go. Currently standing in front of this building. One of the
Definitely chose the name no one can work out how to say properly.
You're a new character, and I don't have the name in front of me all the time. I'll get used to it, I swear.
I was going with it's read as Ziden, or
Okay.
because Zidane would imply an A rather than an E.
All right, mate.
But yeah.
Okay. Ziden will open the door and head inside.
Okay.
Max will vaguely follow behind.
Well, he can stay out in the rain if he likes.
Okay. Inside you find a long room. The walls seem to be covered in lockboxes, all plated gold and all with these indecipherable little labels on them, all the way stretching all the way down the room. The floor is also the kind of this pale brown sort of tile floor, and the ceiling is pretty uniform, kind of similar color. And rather than actually hanging from anything, there's these candles that kind of hover in the air with this blue flame just along the ceiling to light the room. There is a single desk at the end, and behind there, dressed in robes of blacks and golds, is a portly man with a sort of big bushy blonde mustache and long curly blonde hair. Just standing there, he looks over and says, "Well, howdy, how might I help you today? Welcome to Uriel's Magical Magnificent Machinations. I am Uriel, of course. Welcome to my store."
Ziden will walk over to the desk to greet him face to face. "Hello there, my name is Ziden. I am here looking for some form of item or trinket which would allow me to telepathically project my thoughts to my friends and allies."
Ooh, now that is an interesting item you've been looking for. Very well, I'll have a little look and see. And he gets up and he kind of waddles past his desk. He's a good 2 feet shorter than you are, and he's wanders over and kind of takes
Does
out
that make him shorter than Max?
I believe so.
If you imagine Doug Dimmadome.
Yeah.
I'm not used to looking down at people. This is weird.
He takes a little crystal lens out of his pocket, and he's looking through things. Says, "I don't get very many Sheikah in this part of the town. If any particular mystical reason, or are you just wandering, sir?"
Oh, we have, our primary objective is to find Max's here's true family.
Ah.
If you have ever seen this symbol before, and he gestures to Max to show the thing.
Max takes a few seconds to realise that he's being talked to, and then just pulls out the small silver bird trinket that he has.
He kind of looks over it and examines it and says, Well, it doesn't ring a bell. And he kind of waves a hand as if to do like a detect magic spell over it. But then just kind of shakes his head and says, "It's not magical either." Well, the components for it aren't exactly cheap, but I'll be able to perhaps, maybe somewhere down the line, do something akin to a scrying spell. I mean, you have an item of something along those lines if you'd like, but that might run you around about, and he begins doing mental calculations, might run you a little in the region of, say, 2,000 gold.
We shall consider it if we manage to accrue that many funds.
Max is staring at the bird for every second that it is out of his hands.
You should probably hand that back now.
Very well. And he kind of then hands it back, and he resumes looking over his things, over his lockboxes. And he eventually comes across one, and he says, now this would be something that we'd be going for. And he takes out like a key that doesn't look really like a key that would fit anything, and slots it in the lockbox and turns it, and opens the thing. And then he pulls out what appears to be this very kind of basic-looking iron helmet, adorned with these kind of little golden circles around the cranium part of it. It says, "Now this, my friends, will be what we call a helmet telepathy. It allows you to speak to someone while you're just kind of thinking real hard at them. And then in certain cases, if your will is strong enough, they'll be able to suggest them to do certain things if you like. Though I would highly recommend not doing the latter, because that can get you into a lot of trouble if they find out. This in particular would run you around about 600 gold pieces."
Ziden will look over it for a moment and sadly shake his head. Unfortunately, I would not be able to take that item in even if I had the funds.
Oh, well, that's a shame. But if it's still here when you come back, by all means, I'll be happy to grant you the item as well. Maybe gift wrap it too, and puts it back in the lockbox. And
oh no, it is a personal choice. I do not wear metal.
Oh, I see. I understand. Well,
You're one of those wizards.
you're one of them all-natural folks. I understand now. Yes.
Well, we don't accept your kind around here.
I see. You're a vegan.
Wizard vegan!
I literally just ate chicken.
We don't accept your kind around here, boy.
Reckon it's back. You know the way this way? Yep. Reckon it's back the way you came.
Hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property.
So he kind of says, that is quite interesting. And he kind of looks rather lackadaisically around all the other cases and says, "I'm not sure I have anything that's strictly not made of metal, but I might be able to commission something. How about you come back in a couple hours, or maybe even tomorrow? I'll be able to tell you exactly what I can do. Sometimes I can get items commissioned from certain folks. Would be very much a possibility, of course. And if anybody comes in and sells me something of that nature, I'll keep you in mind."
That would be spectacular, thank you.
Yeah, and as he says that, the door opens, cling, 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 and in walks in another Sheikah, a fairly young Sheikah, wielding a staff and dressed in not really a sense of style at all, as well as a Gerudo in chainmail with a great axe on her back. And Hikan, you have walked into the scene described before. You have walked into Uriel's magnificent magical machinations.
Max's eyes dart between their weapons.
Excuse you, it's a walking stick. Shifty dice.
Yes, and so is mine. Mine is definitely a walking stick. And Max has definitely not seen me beating animals to death with it.
Thought you were vegan. Uriel
Death
looks
is
around.
part of the cycle of life.
Uriel looks over and says, Well, today's certainly a busy day. Welcome to Uriel's Magnificent Magical Machinations. My name is Uriel. How might I help you?
Seeing the other two individuals there, noticing that one of them's a Sheikah, I turn to Tyrina and say in Gerudo that, wow, there's a lot of Sheikah here today.
It's like, yeah, do you guys, like, having, like, a pilgrimage or, like, a festival or something? There's a lot of you guys around.
Hikan shrugs, he has no idea. Hikan's gonna take a look around. He's looking for potions or anything, sort of like anything magical that just sort of sticks out. Maybe some scrolls, really. Something to kind of help his caster friends, since everyone's casting except him.
Yeah. There's not really much of anything on display. Everything is kept in lockboxes on the walls. So it's literally like a blank walls of lockboxes, and a desk. And some magic candles
god,
floating
it's
in
magical Argos.
there. Yeah, it's magical Argos.
Are the flames within reach?
If you have your staff, maybe just to kind of like poke them, but
I put on the ring of jump.
you should put on the ring of just boing.
Shoots through the fucking roof. Boy.
I just want to touch a fire to see if it's cool because it's blue flame.
Yeah, you kind of hop up and you swipe a hand over it. Doesn't seem to burn at all. You don't feel any kind of burning sensation from it.
Huh. Hikan's kind of mystified.
Or a green flame.
Uriel turns to Tyrina and goes, your friend okay there? He seems to be energetic. And Tyrina's like, I've learned to just stop asking questions at this point, I think.
Oh, am I not supposed to do that?
It would be helpful if you didn't, sir. It certainly help. And he turns back to the other two and says, so we can't get you the helmet. That's perfectly fine. Is there anything else that you have in mind that you'd like to get a hold of, perhaps?
Ziden will look at Max.
Max just shrugs, like, I don't really have any money.
Hikan's ears perk up at helmet.
In this situation, I believe we are... We have what we can, I suppose. I will be back again to see what you have on offer.
Very well, it's nice meeting you. And remember, if you have anything magical in mind, or have friends with magical things in mind, we'll always recommend Uriel's Magnificent Magical Machinations, for they are indeed magical and magnificent.
Indeed, I shall.
Okay.
I'm Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dogsdale.
Ziden will nod to Max and start heading to the door, I guess.
Okay. And
Actually,
Tyrina steps out of the way, graciously.
But before that, might as well. It turns to Tyrina, given Hikan's airheadedness, and just say, "Hello there, lady. Would I be able to trouble you for a moment?"
Sure, I guess. You okay in here, Hikan?
Hikan nods.
Okay, I'll just be outside. And she follows the two of you outside.
We are travelers looking for this boy. He is true family, and we have not much to go on beyond this keepsake of his. If you could look at it and see if it reminds you of anything.
I just hold it up.
Yeah. Tyrina doesn't take it. She kind of leans down to look at it and examines it and says, well, sure it is pretty, but I'm not sure I've come across much. Then again, I haven't actually left the desert that much prior to this, so I'm not as well traveled as anybody else here. But if I come across anything, I'll let you know.
Thank you, lady. He nods and smiles at her, being polite.
She bows. Yeah.
I shall see you around then.
Okay. Very well. Take care. And she turns to head back inside. Meanwhile, Hikan. So you're left alone with Uriel inside, and Uriel says, "We hoping to buy anything in particular today, sir?"
Actually, when it comes to magic things, I kind of have a list of things I'm looking for, believe it or not, despite my energeticness. I've recently made friends with some caster friends, and I don't know much about magic stuff, but do you have anything I could give them to help them out a little bit? Like, I think there's scrolls or potions or items or anything really.
Ooh, well, let's see. I do have the possibility of having some items on hand. Tell me, what kind of profession do they go along with? How are they doing their magic sort of things? Is one of them at the very least a scholarly wizard, or do they get their magic from their blood, or do they get it from some kind of deity, or their faithful, or anything like that?
Hikan thinks about Renji's pixelated showing sword for a minute.
No! I would have expected it from Sho. I would have expected it from my father, but he can't.
just like, and then in that moment, Hikan has like a Vietnam flashback of just like Sho's hand getting ready to smack someone upside the head.
And there's this faint, ghostly whisper of, "Don't mention it." No, really.
Don't mention Zavor. Don't mention Zavor.
Both of the people I know seem to channel through an item. One person channels it through a sword, and the other person channels it through some gem, I think. I only got brief looks at it, but I'm more of an up-close fighter, so...
Well, I can certainly see if I have something more pertaining to that. In regards to your gem friend, he looks around and he goes into a lockbox, and he takes out the magnifying crystal and looks at the label. He unlocks it as he does, and then he pulls out an item which appears to be a kind of a ruby of some kind. And he holds it up and says, "Now, you say that they both channel through their swords, but one of them uses a gem of some kind?"
Yes.
Now, what I have here, sir, is something that's known as the Ruby of the War Mage. It allows one to turn their sword into a magical focus, in a sense. It's very useful if you got your hands tied in regards to casting magic spells. And this little beauty will run you about 110 gold pieces.
$110, huh? Okay. And Hikan gives him 110 gold.
Wait.
Well, I must say, that's very pleasant of you. And he hands you the gem and says, "Now all you need to do is tell him that for about an hour or so, you just got to hold the gem to the sword and then focus on it. And then if you ever change swords or find something better, you just need to take the gem off and then do the same to a different weapon." It'll allow him to utilize it as a very specific focus there. Yeah.
That sounds pretty neat. As long as it'll help him, I'm sure he'll be thankful for it.
Indeed. And by the way, tell him tell either of your friends, if one of them happens to be what I am, which is a wizard, you'll be able to have him come to me, and I'll be able to teach him a new spell, one of my own creations, as it were. And he'd be able to utilize it in any way he sees fit. And of course, if they are interested, much like regardless of their profession, you can always tell them to come right back to Uriel's magnificent magical machinations, where we are indeed magnificent and magical.
Hikan pauses a moment, stares blankly at the floor, memorizing most of that. And this one's more of a personal request, but have you happened to hear of something called the Book of Mudora?
There's a pause in the air, and he says, "The Book of Medora, huh?"
Hikan nods slowly and tentatively.
And Uriel kind of just sidles up to him and says, "That's a big ask, you realize that, right?"
Hikan waits a minute, thinking about it, and then kind of shrugs and nods at the same time, like, I kinda know, but not really. I don't know how big. I know it's big.
That is a priceless relic. I'm gonna go ahead and say that if it's in anybody's possession that is not the royal family of Hyrule, then I don't know where it is. And to be honest, something along those lines, if anybody else found it, I'm not sure they'd be willing to hand it over. You've got big aspirations, kid. Big aspirations. Is that the only thing that you've been looking for, or is there anything else?
You were telling them about a helm. Is it, does it give people special things?
Why, yes. I have for sale what is called a Helm of Telepathy. Allows you to communicate through the mind as well as cast some kind of magic to maybe nudge them in a direction that you want to go. I sell that for 600 gold if you have the money for that as well.
No, I don't have that much. But have you heard about any other types of helms or masks that might do other things?
Nah, I don't believe so. Then again, I ain't much of a mask salesman. But tell you what, if you find yourself back this way, maybe I might have found something else. But for now, I don't think I have the answers that you're looking for, son.
Hikan nods and bows respectfully and thanks Uriel for his time.
He bows back and says, "It's good to have such a eager and bright young customer in my store. And once again, remember, always come back for more magnificent magical machinations if you ever need them."
Hikan smiles and nods and looks longingly at one of the blue fangs again before stepping outside.
Outside, you see Tyrina, who's got her arms folded, and says, "Do you find anything useful?"
Not for me, but I think Renji or Sho would like something that I got for him.
Well, aren't you pleasant? Okay. How about we go ahead and find ourselves doing a couple of other things. And she basically steps aside and allows you to lead the way into any other wanderings that you want to do.
Generally, unless I can get into Hyrule Castle, which I don't want to break in and get thrown into dungeon and get scolded by Dad, there's not really anything else I think Hikan's willing or can do at the moment, so if there's anything you want to do, go ahead and we can do that and waste time until dinner for us free food.
Well, I don't think I have the money to get the one thing that I want to get, but I do know that I probably have the money in order to get something that I do want to be, which is drunk. So let's go ahead and find some drinks.
Sounds good.
She'll fulfill some of her dreams.
Meanwhile, back with Renji, back in the castle, you find yourself heading into the forge area. There's loud clanging of metal against metal. And the wall of heat that just comes from everything as you head in. And And of course, you had to go past the barracks in order to get there. So you once again saw Alea going through drills with some of the guards who were not doing particularly pleasantly in regards to their endurance. They never have a good time with Alea. They just don't.
I am glad not to be a guard.
You head inside and you find hair cut short for practical reasons. Is a Hylian woman of average height, and is very well built, like muscled sort of build, and she's in the middle of slamming a hammer against a hot piece of iron, and she looks over and says, "Well, if it isn't the prodigal son,
if it isn't this son, thank you.
Welcome to the House of Fire and Tedium. What can I do for you today?"
I was hoping to requisition some armor, actually.
Armor? Oh. Getting yourself into some fights, huh?
I've been in one or two, and I've managed. It's just I would like some additional protection.
Of course. Well, pays to be paranoid, I guess. Manny! And there's from the distance, like a, whoa! And it's like, get some stuff ready. We've got a potential shipment to deal with. And he says, already? It's a Sunday. It's like, well, just do it. He looks over and says, well, let's have a look at what we have. Anything in particular you're looking for? I don't think we'll be able to do full plate for you.
No, not full plate is something I wouldn't be able to walk in. I was looking for something along the line of a chainmail shirt, or if possible, like a breastplate.
That's it, huh? Okay. She leads you over to a somewhat cooler area where the storehouse is, where all these weapons and armors are, which are all decorated with the royal crest of Hyrule, the bird with the Triforce above it. And looking over everything, she kind of brings you to a series of racks where there are chainmail shirts and breastplates on, and says, "Now, are you looking to be able to bend down a lot? Because it's not going to be too comfortable with a breastplate on."
That's true. To be honest, I'm just thinking of using it in combat situations. I'm not thinking of wearing it all the time. So if you have a breastplate that I could that fits me, that would be very welcome indeed.
Okay. Very well. And she kind of looks over a couple of the breastplates, and she picks one she thinks she'd fit. And he says, "Put down whatever you're carrying. Hold out your arms."
Mm-hmm. I have the satchel. I put it down. I hold out my arms as instructed.
Okay. And she puts it on. And it's a bit of a tight fit, but otherwise it seems to fit fine enough. Like it's not too constricting. It just feels like it's half a size too small. And she kind of like does up the buckles and everything, just kind of like a hard slam on the back to test the durability. And she steps away and goes, "How you feeling in it?"
It's a little tight, but I move my arms around, just trying to see how mobile I am at the moment.
You're able to comfortably move your arms to do blocking with your shield or swinging your sword or do somatic components. So it's just like a mild discomfort, if anything.
How much time would it take to get this fitted?
She kind of looks over it and says, "A day."
This breastplate, does it show the royal Hyrulean seal or anything?
It does. That's all they make.
That's all they make. Is it possible to maybe add some Sheikah symbols?
That would take a day and a half.
As in, fitting it and adding the
the whole
symbols
thing would
is
take
a day and a half.
Yeah.
So tomorrow evening, then.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I think
If you want, I could recommend a guy in town. He's a Goron. They know what they do. But that might cost you money.
Yeah, I've specifically asked my dad, so I'm not sure if he'll spring for a contractor. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. It's not like I have anything else to do, and besides, doing a little side project will always spice things up a bit. I need a new job. Anyway.
But seriously, Lisa, I do appreciate it a lot.
That's fine. That's fine.
How is Manny?
Appreciate it enough for a tip.
How's Manny doing? He sounded bored as usual.
Constipated.
Manny's doing all right, I think. He's, if there's any problems, he's not saying anything about it.
Yeah, but you know him. He probably doesn't.
Yeah, I suppose he's just happy to be here. Isn't that right, Manny? He goes, yeah.
See?
Yeah. All right, well, just stop by here tomorrow evening, and then we'll be able to get you something sorted, okay?
Much appreciated. And I start slowly unbuckling where I can and handing it over.
Yeah, she kind of takes the breastplate from you, examines it, and then kind of rather quickly reaches out and scruffles your hair slightly and says, look at you getting into combat. Anyway.
No! Oh, you ruined my hair.
My father will hear for this. Draco, Malfoy.
I know Lissa means well, and I'm just doing this to tease her because, well, she's teasing me about it, so.
Yeah, he is. All right, get on out of here. I've got work to do.
Righto. Thank you very much. And I leave the Royal Armory.
Okay. And so, with errands done, the day winds on as you kind of occupy yourselves with your own things, and eventually the appointed time comes around. As the rain begins to calm down, finally, after the day of downpour, you find yourselves at the front door once again of Lord Simeon's estate. The sun is beginning to set once again, and because of the oncoming evening, there are even fewer people out in the streets at this point in time.
So is everybody outside Lord Simeon's estate?
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so.
I'm heading that way in that time, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
I probably would have turned up early because I didn't have anything else to do.
Max will go there if Ziden goes there.
Yeah, I suppose we would have gone there right after the shop going, well, we don't really... He doesn't really want to take Max into the slums, because that seems risky.
Yeah.
Max might accidentally hit someone with lightning.
That too.
So Hikan sees Ziden and Max and goes, "You two from the magical shop!"
Ziden glances back at him, then to Tyrina and goes, hello there again.
Ah, I didn't expect to see you guys again so soon.
I suppose that's about the time when Renji walks up. Renji will have done his hair again. He will have renewed the Sheikah markings on his face, and basically he's wearing these loose tunic over some fancy. Well, fancy pants, yes.
Okay.
So much more well dressed than I am.
Tyrina looks at you and goes, "Well, blow me down. You're dressed for a night on the town there, Renji."
I am dressed for dinner.
Sounds like Tyrina didn't get as drunk as she hoped to.
No. She has a fairly decent constitution and knows not to get drunk before a meeting with a noble. So as everyone's gathered, it's like Tony goes,
You were supposed to get fancy clothes for dinner? Crap!
Oh, calm down, Hikan. I enjoy dressing up for stately dinners such as this. Yes. I don't think you have to. Simeon doesn't really stand for etiquette too much, as far as I can recall.
I'm going to be honest, this is A, the most comfortable thing I'm wearing, and B, the smartest thing I am wearing at the moment, so I guess I'm kind of stuck with it.
Oh, no harm, no foul.
So, shall we go in? I think it's a bit weird for all of us to be loitering outside of a noble's house like this.
True. Do I see Sho around already?
I'm inside.
Oh, you're inside. Okay, in that case, I head towards the door.
Okay. So you head inside, you head to the door, the guards recognize all of you and just kind of nod, and heading inside, you go through the lobby again, and the elderly butler, Smith, is standing there, hands behind his back, and goes, "Oh, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening,
Please,
Smith.
This way." And he
Thank you.
guides you through to a banquet hall. And the table it's not a massive area, but there's definitely enough places around the table to be seated, with a couple places spare, just in case. And it's a good thing, too, because as you go in, you see Simeon, who's sitting at the head of the table, as he always is, it being his home. But next to him is a somewhat elderly, rotund man dressed in somewhat similar fashion to Simeon, who kind of looks over all of you and kind of like narrows his eyes disinterestedly. And opposite him is another fellow who both Sho and Renji recognize as being in a royal scribe's outfit. He's currently sitting there, and he doesn't have any kind of food in front of him. He has a ledger and a quill, and he's just kind of sitting there waiting for something.
Right.
Even Sho's already sat down. He actually looks over and actively has a look of "help me" in his eyes.
Do I recognize the other person besides Lord Simeon and this scribe?
You do indeed. In fact, Sho does as well. This is Lord Rickshaw. He is the Lord of Labour as far as the Hyrule court is concerned.
I see. I will remember that. I will probably recognize him as being the person that forced Lissa to only hire Hylians. I see. I bow. I say, Lord Simeon, Lord Rickshaw, it's a pleasure to see you here tonight.
Oh, it's good to see you as well. Please, come, sit down.
I head over to sit near Sho.
Tyrina waits for everybody else to kind of pick a seat before sitting down herself.
Ziden will take a seat, allowing space for their group to sit together, since they seem to know each other.
Max insists on sitting next to Ziden.
Hikan sits next to Sho and Renji.
Good. Thank you for coming. Now, I know that I would ordinarily wait for dinner to be served and eaten first in this certain circumstance, but for the moment I feel like I need to address this now because it excites me as a process, and I feel like it is pertinent to our situation. So, each of you around this table has helped me and my house in some way, shape, or form, and I cannot tell you how much that pleases me. You have helped the pursuit of education among all of Hyrule and possibly beyond, just by saving lives and providing resources and doing everything in your power to simply just be helpful and good people. And I sincerely cannot thank you enough. But it has occurred to me that more can be done. As you are possibly aware by this point, the situation in Hyrule Field has become dangerous. There's bandits, monsters. I believe I was told at one point about some form of shadow being, and spiders, lots of spiders, apparently.
At the word shadow being, Renji is trying not to make any reaction.
Show bristles at fucking spiders.
Hikan stares at the center of the table and glares at the mention of spiders.
Echo Ziden is displeased by the idea of some kind of unnatural shadow being.
It says, now, in this certain circumstance, I think I have the solution, and that is why I brought you all here. You see, there is a wealth of history out in Hyrule Field, but it is too dangerous for any of my scholars to go out and actively look for these things. As some of you might already be aware, their lives are not suited for adventure and combat as much as they are for research and knowledge. In short, I would like to offer everyone around this table a job, to be on my staff, to go out into Hyrule Field and hunt for such items and artifacts, to bring them back here where they can be examined safely. This duty will obviously go with great compensation, and it is in fact the reason why I have invited Lord Rickshaw here. The nature of laws within Hyrule requires me to have the approval of the appropriate noble in charge of this sort of thing, and, well, to have such a large and skilled workforce for me, that would require the approval of the Lord of Labour, which is Lord Rickshaw here. And Rickshaw
I already wondered what role Lord Rickshaw would fill in this endeavour, but thank you for this addition.
Rickshaw kind of looks over at all of you and says, Simeon, only one of these people here are Hylian. And Simeon goes, and is that a problem, Lord Rickshaw? And Simeon says, Rickshaw says, well, I would prefer it if we had individuals who are of this city to be provided work for. As you know, employment is a steadily falling aspect of our kingdom.
At this point, Max says, I don't think I'm from the city.
I actually am.
I also have grown up and have enjoyed quite a nice youth in Hyrule Castle itself.
And
So really, you should be looking at those guys.
It appears that looks is the only thing in equation here.
Simeon says,
suppose I
should have dressed up.
I should have dressed down and added less cosmetics, I suppose.
Simeon says, and you're not, I mean, count them, Rickshaw. There are at least 4 Sheikah among this number, and regardless of who they are or where they come from, they've all proven themselves with their skills and determination. They have saved lives, Hylian lives, lives of the people of this city. Do you really wish to turn them away? And Rickshaw kind of grumbles slightly. And he eventually says, I would like to have one adjustment to this little deal of yours. If you would be so kind, Simeon. And Simeon says, very well, name your terms. And Rickshaw turns to all of you and says, if you wish to be employed with this city, you must be capable of helping the city as a whole, not just one aspiring noble. As such, I think it would be best that in addition to helping out Lord Simeon, we would also be sending you various tasks to fulfill for the city, just to prove that you are a benefit to all of us, not just to one person.
Ziden will then speak up. Do you mean to pay for this as well, then?
And there's a pause, as kind of like he contemplates it. Clearly, no insight roll is needed. Clearly, he wasn't intending on this happening in the first place, let alone paying for it. And Simeon just holds up a hand and says, I will pay for the reparations. Besides, it is not just monetary value that I would be paying for. Each instance in which you would go out and find an artifact, you would be rewarded with a 200 gold per person minimum in regards to completion, as well as any bonuses that might be incurred from finding additional things that we did not ask for. On top of that, you will be more than welcome to stay on my estate as far as accommodations are concerned, as well as eat our food and use our facilities. If that appeals.
It would to me.
Sounds
Max?
ideal.
I guess having a roof over our head wouldn't be so bad.
And he smiles and says, as far as other tasks are going, well, that will have to be discussed. But I'm sure you will be paid for such things. And as for any information in regards to that, well, I'm sure the city would be more than happy to have individuals such as yourself doing things for it. Isn't that right, Rickshaw? And Rickshaw's like, I'd much rather it be city-dwelling folk. And Simeon says, well, life is not that easy, or is it that pleasant? But then again, you do live with a rather closed mind, so I don't exactly expect anything else. And Rickshaw immediately snaps around and is like, watch your tongue. I've lost my appetite. And he stands. And snaps his fingers, and the scribe next to Simeon nods, having finished furiously scribbling down everything in this conversation that has ever taken place, and puts the quill away, closes the ledger, and stands, and then with a perfect posture follows Rickshaw out as he waddles out of the room. And
Would I have seen this scribe at the library?
Yeah, you would have seen them everywhere. There's a number of scribes. It's just that they're there to document everything.
Yeah, I will probably shout like, see you later, and like name him specifically.
Yeah. Percival is a decent person. He's just very dedicated to the bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I admire.
And it's unfortunately Samuel's a shit boss.
Yeah.
As soon as the door closes behind them, Max leans to Ziden and says, I don't like him.
No, I don't like him either.
I think anyone who is not Hylian, and most Hylians, to be fair, probably do not like him.
Simeon just kind of chuckles.
I know one particular who doesn't appreciate his hiring requirements.
I don't get what his whole thing on hiring city dwellers was. I walked around the city. Most of the city dwellers, except for the, Goron blacksmith down over in the crafting district, probably would have been killed.
Renji leans over to Hikan and whispers, "The guy is a racist, Hikan."
What's a racist?
I was worried for that question.
Sweet
A race.
summer child.
A racist, dear Hikan, is someone who disapproves of someone because of a factor that they cannot control. We in the business like to call them assholes or dickheads.
I like
Also
that.
bastard, but not in the political term.
Regardless, though, and he says, looking to all of you, raising a wine glass, he says, "Welcome aboard. It is very nice to have all of you. I wouldn't have picked anyone better."
Ziden will raise a wine glass to him as well.
I do too.
Got a stiff glass of water.
I also have water.
Now then,
Ziden's not going to let Max have wine. No way.
Max isn't going to let himself have wine.
I'm not going
No,
to
it
drink that
tells his
filth.
now, chances are, in regards to how this will work, is simply that if we discover anything in regards to notes that we have on hand, we will come immediately to you and we will relay the information, and then you'll have your time in order to go and complete this task. As said, any compensation that occurs, which includes any form of harm you might befall, we will do our best in order to accommodate for that. And of course, you have the entire building that you can utilize to yourselves, as well as the payment that you might need in any other regard. Is there any questions that you might have in regards to any of all of this?
Well, concerning this, task force that we've signed up for now, is there any, quest or mission or whatever you want to call it that requires our immediate attention, or is there a time that we can prepare and use before setting out?
Well, to be fair, most of the things I will likely send you out on will be finding ancient artifacts or texts that exist within this world. Thankfully, items that don't have a form of expiry date, unless, of course, we receive some bizarre ransom letter in regards to, "I will destroy this thing if you do not turn up in several days," which is very unlikely to happen. No one is willing to make any kind of archaeological find that exciting. But at the moment, I don't have any pressing matters. Chances are the first thing that you will encounter is requests for aid in regards to things around the city. It might be odd jobs at first, but it's a groundwork that needs to be laid, and if this is part of the agreement that we have with Lord Rickshaw, sadly, that has to be done. Hopefully it won't be too demanding, of course.
In that case, I have no other questions. Anyone else?
Nothing
No.
a simple mind like his could throw at me would ever phase us.
It's not so much his words as it is his deeds. He could make life difficult if he really wants to.
But for the
Is
time
there
being,
a way I could send a letter to the west, to my monastery?
Well, of course, that would definitely be a capability. Depends on how secretive this monastery of yours is, my friend.
do they have a mailbox?
Is it in like a hidden location that cannot be reached by any normal means, or is it a location that is known to man and has regular mailings to?
I don't know if it has regular meetings too, but I got out and got there perfectly fine, so I think other people can.
Very well. I shall look into it as best I can. And he puts the wine glass down. Says, "Anything else? I'd be happy to see if I could try and find ways to help any of you with any kind of tasks you have."
In this case, one of our major reasons for coming to town is to search for Max's real family. Our only lead is his keepsake. If you could show it to him.
Just slide it across the table.
Yeah. Simeon kind of closely examines it, does so very delicately, and says, Well, a bird symbol is a common symbol among Hylian families. Something about large birds that were used at one point to be mounts across the sky in a mythical part of our history in which we lived in the sky as opposed to living on the surface world.
Really? Those aren't just stories, Simeon. Really?
Well, they might be stories, but I prefer to think that they are the possibility of having to be real. Then he passed the charm back.
It is immediately stuffed straight in Max's pocket.
Given Ziden's background, would he have heard anything of those stories from the people he knew?
Make a history check. In fact, anybody who's listening to this is free to make a history check.
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna because I read.
Ooh, can I cast guidance on myself?
I'm gonna just assume that given Max's background, he will not know the story.
Okay.
That wasn't a no.
Ooh,
Yeah, you can roll a
it's just a straight 10
guidance
for
if you
me.
want.
19.
19 as well.
Okay. So you managed to find you managed to conjure up stories that have been passed down through many years. Both of you being Sheikah and being keepers of law and truth. It's one of the few things that wasn't lost during the eons long civil war. There's lots of stories that pertain to, like, a common theory among histories is that at one point in Hyrule's history they lived in the sky. Like the surface world was either too dangerous or it didn't exist yet or something along those lines, and they got around using colossal birds called loftwings, which basically act like horses.
Bird horses.
Yeah, bird horses.
Horses.
In fact, a loftwing is the basis of the Hylian symbol, as well as a symbol of the Church of Hylia, which is a bird.
The bird with the Triforce at the head.
Yeah.
He's going to find out that this bird does not have a Triforce on it.
Secret illegitimate bastard son of the wrong family.
The fourth child.
Nice. Imagines then. I was taken from my family 17 years ago, if that also helps.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. But any clue is certainly worth looking into, and I will hopefully come back to you with information quite quickly.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other requests?
I need a dragon scale.
Dragon scale. Have you tried speaking to Uriel?
Oh god, no. It was him who I procured my casting necklace from, but it took about half an hour before the transaction was complete, purely because the man gasses.
Max sort of scratches at his back during this conversation.
Well, if you can't try and find him, I'm sure there is some kind of reagents store within the city. Someone who doesn't specialize in any form of magic or any form of spells or magic items in particular, but provides the components for it. But yes, I believe, as far as things go, that's the only name I can think of. I would suggest going to try and find Lord Raymer, but as you are probably aware, he's been away for a while, and we have not heard word from him.
Indeed. I'll probably go find Uriel tomorrow.
If we are also discussing magical items, I was earlier in a shop ran by a man named Uriel, looking for
magical machinations.
Something of that description.
Yeah, that's him.
With the cool blue fire.
With the cool blue fire. Yes.
Yes, don't touch that.
You wait, were you
Eyes.
touching stuff?
The eyes Hikan.
Were you touching stuff?
He was touching the fire.
I can't.
I
That is
didn't
something done.
break nothing.
Ziden's gonna give Hikan a disapproving kind of dad frown.
Hey.
He looks like you do.
I'm the only one in this group that's
Tyrina
allowed
just
to be
explodes
disappointed.
with laughter. She's just
After hearing this, I use prestidigitation to add like a minus above Ziden's and Sho's head, and a plus over Tyrina.
I'm
Yes,
the
I
only
was
one
looking
disappointed.
for some form of item to allow telepathy. Preferably not made of metal.
Oh, Druid.
Hmm.
Well, I can certainly have a look into something along those lines. Though I must admit, my forte is history as opposed to magical items. And I would see if I could requisition Mara in order to see if she knows anything, but she's only recently gotten the job and she's been quite busy as of late.
That is fine.
Well, unless anybody has any other very specific requests, how about we eat something,
Finally.
Yes, that whole interaction with Lord Rickshaw has whetted my appetite.
Indeed.
As he says that, he picks up a bell from the table and rings it, and then a couple moments later, several servants come in with heaping plates of food. It's like a buffet sort of thing where they set it out in the middle of the table with empty plates in front of each of you, and it's like, dig in.
Oh, no.
There's
Max stares at these giant piles of food like, what the hell?
there's like there's spit roasted boar. There's different variations of meat and cheeses and breads. There's vegetables, fruit, all this beautifully prepared stuff that looks remarkably cinematic in its presentation, and the aroma coming off all of these different things as it hits your senses just causes you to salivate at the very notion of all this lovely food before you. And Simeon just raises a glass and says, "To a new era of education. Dig in, everyone." And just leans back and takes a sip.
Yeah, new era and all that.
Renji respectfully raises his glass and takes a drink before starting to
Yeah,
enjoy
but
his own dinner.
The only time when Sho breaks composure is food!
Are we doing another set of Constitution saves? The works.
Nope.
I'm game if you
Not
are.
the works again.
Sho takes a brief moment, takes off his hat, takes off his glasses, folds them up, sets them aside, hands down the table, looks at Hikan, and is like,
I turn to Lord Simeon and I say, just a warning, this has happened before with interesting results.
I mean, I'm fairly confident Ziden can beat anyone because he could turn into a bear.
that's
Cheating!
cheating! At the same time, Sho and Hikan just point inside, like, no, that's cheating! This is the gentleman's wager.
Screw it, I'm in. Let's do this thing.
Yeah!
No, he'll continue being slightly more
Finally,
polite.
a
and
worthy
even
bad. Oh no!
Tyrina, on point.
Oh my.
boy.
Oh!
So that's
Oh
two.
my.
That's a 9 from Hikan and a critical success from Tyrina and Sho.
Yeah, boy.
And it's just Simeon just kind of looks at this display going on as we're wolfing down this food and just the most shonen sort of eating process you could possibly.
I like the
Yeah.
idea that it's also either side of the table. You've got the massive eating on one side and the kind of peaceful eating on the other.
Yeah.
It is that one episode of Avatar where it's the barbarians and the fancy people trying to get through the canyon. And they all sit down for camp meal, and there's like the really fast is like, napkins in, cutting it, and then the voice like, ruff, 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 ruff.
Yeah, but when Max eats, he's like glancing at Simeon quite a lot and just like only taking one thing at a time.
And he's kind of like Simeon just kind of turns to Renji and says, You say that it'll be interesting, but that's the point. And, I mean, let me put it this way. I've had to sit at this table and eat like a stuffed shirt for so long. It's interesting to see how other people eat, and to be honest, it's quite entertaining.
That is true, yes. Interesting can mean fun as well, I've heard.
Indeed.
Or
Absolutely.
I've read.
Interesting can mean fun.
Lost.
And
Eventually, he gets to a point where he has to pound his chest, and he realizes that at that point he can't keep up. So he bows his head in respect to both Sho and Tyrina.
We ain't done!
You win this time.
Shall we go for another round?
I think Ziden's gonna make sure to fill his plate, whilst keeping eating normally before it all disappears.
Yeah.
Sho glances down, Tyrina takes a glass of water, necks the whole thing, and it's like, a game!
Okay.
Oh my god!
20 rolls 21. He rolls a 20.
At some point, Max has to jump back to avoid his hand being impaled by a fork. Simeon just says to the more refined members of the table, it's like, well, you don't have to, as much fun as they are, you don't have to restrict yourselves in any way. Take everything that you want and just be full, be happy, be merry. This is a good night.
But leave the basket. What do you mean? Leave the basket!
And as people stuff themselves and have a hell of a lot of indigestion for possibly the next week, I believe we'll call that a session here.
I will pick up my stuff and also get some books from Mara, I suppose.
Yes.
Interesting.
Hikan needs to remember to give either Renji or Sho that thing he picked up.
I was planning on talking about it with him after dinner.
But we can do that next time on Dragon Ball Zelda.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you everyone for playing along, and thank you for listening, those who are listening. My name is ArticulateT, the Humble Bumble GM. This is SteveTheSeregios playing Sho Daius.
Disappointed dad is full.
We have TheNetherlad playing as Renji, son of Nihilus. We have Alvarance playing as Hikan Sio.
I lost this time.
we have Robo Pirate / Cafferask playing as Ziden Shari.
Hello.
And we have Keastreth playing as Max.
I'm so intimidated by this group right now.
Alright.
and their ridiculous eating.
And this has been episode, I believe, 5 of Hyrule Chronicles. And we'll see you guys again in a couple weeks' time. Bye now. And this has been Hyrule Chronicles. Thank you very much for listening along, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are, please leave a comment or retweet this or share this with the world, for that would be very helpful and very entertaining. As you can see, I'm doing my best to try and get these up on YouTube now, because I've changed the format from a WAV file to an MP3 file, and hopefully that'll get everything sorted out. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening. This has been ArticulateT. You can follow me at ArticulateT on Twitter, and if you want to, you can subscribe ArticulateT on the YouTubes. And I hope you have an awesome time. Take care now. Bye-bye then.